All right, today we're jumping into the story of a World War II soldier, a hero whose actions on the battlefield, well, they completely redefine what bravery even means.
75? What's so special about that number? Well, it's the number of men who were saved on a single day, May 5th, 1945, right in the middle of one of the absolute bloodiest battles of the Pacific War.
And where were they rescued from? Atop the treacherous Hacksaw Ridge. We're talking about the Maeda Escarpment in Okinawa, a terrifying 400-foot cliff. It was so brutal, the soldiers nicknamed it the meat grinder. And who rescued them?
By a single soldier who refused to even touch a gun. And that is the incredible paradox at the heart of our story today. How in the world did a man who wouldn't carry a weapon become one of the most decorated soldiers in all of American history?
So, let's get into it. To really understand what happened on that cliff, you've got to understand the man himself. We need to go back to the beginning, to the source of his unshakable conviction.
Desmond Doss was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia. His family was devoutly Seventh-day Adventist, and his mother Bertha really instilled in him this powerful sense of faith and compassion. It wasn't just part of his life, it pretty much became the core of who he was.
And for Doss, this commandment, thou shalt not kill, well, it wasn't just a suggestion. It was an absolute. He used to tell this story about a picture in his house. It showed the 10 Commandments, and right next to that rule, there was this image of Cain killing his brother Abel. He said that image was just seared into his mind as a kid. It became the one moral principle he would never, ever break.
So you can imagine what happened when World War II broke out. Doss found himself in this monumental conflict, not on a battlefield, but inside himself. He felt this deep, patriotic duty to serve his country, but he also had this sacred vow to never, ever take a human life.
Now, he actually could have gotten out of it. He worked at a shipyard, so he could have gotten a deferment. But he didn't. He chose to volunteer. He registered as what the Army called a 1AO conscientious objector. But he didn't even like that term. He called himself a conscientious cooperator. He was saying, hey, I want to serve, I just don't want to kill. His plan? To be a medic, right on the front lines, saving lives instead of taking them.
You'd think his own side would respect that, right? Nope. This decision was met with just brutal resistance, not from the enemy, but from his own unit. The other soldiers thought he was a coward for refusing to carry a rifle. I mean, they threw shoes at him while he prayed, they completely ostracized him. And his superiors, they tried everything to get rid of him. They threatened him with a court-martial. They even tried to discharge him, claiming he was mentally unstable. But through all of it, Doss just wouldn't budge.
And this chart really just perfectly illustrates the standoff, doesn't it? You have the immovable object of military demands on one side and the unstoppable force of one man's faith on the other. The Army says, you will train with a rifle. Doss says, taking a life is forbidden. The Army says, you'll perform all duties as ordered. Doss says, my Sabbath must be observed. So to the Army, he was just being insubordinate. But to him, he was just being true to his conscience.
Which brings us to the miracle at Hacksaw Ridge. I mean, after a long, hard fight, his superiors finally gave in. Doss was sent to the Pacific with the 77th Infantry Division. And it was right there, in the absolute crucible of combat, that the man everyone called a coward was about to show them what true courage really looks like.
Okay, so it's April 1945. The Allies are launching their final major amphibious assault of the entire war on the island of Okinawa. And let me tell you, this was a hellish, absolutely savage campaign. They were up against a deeply entrenched and fanatical Japanese defense, and the casualties were just staggering.
And the key to the whole American advance? Capturing this one spot. A sheer, jagged cliff face. This thing was a natural fortress, absolutely riddled with enemy caves and machine gun nests. For the soldiers trying to climb that thing under constant fire, it was just pure butchery.
Then came that fateful day. A massive Japanese counterattack just completely overwhelmed the American position on top of the ridge. The order came down, fall back. So soldiers are scrambling down these ropes to get to safety, but in the chaos, they're forced to leave dozens of their wounded comrades behind, just lying there on the ridge, completely exposed.
Everyone retreated. Everyone except Desmond Doss. Alone, unarmed, right in the direct line of fire, he just started to pray. Please, Lord, help me get one more. And that simple sentence, it became his mantra as he turned right back around and ran toward the chaos.
Can you even imagine this?
For the next 12 hours, Doss just systematically crawls through the mud and the gunfire. He finds a wounded man, patches him up, drags him all the way to the cliff's edge, and then single-handedly lowers him 400 feet to safety using this rope litter he rigged up. And he just did this over and over and over again.
And if you think that's the end of the story, you're wrong. His heroism didn't stop there. Days later, a grenade blast just ripped through his legs, leaving him full of shrapnel. So as they're carrying him off, what does he do? He sees another guy who's worse off and gives up his own stretcher. And then, while he's waiting, a sniper's bullet shatters his arm. So he grabs a rifle stock, splints his own arm, and crawls 300 yards to an aid station. It's just unbelievable.
So these acts, they weren't just momentary flashes of bravery. They built an enduring legacy, one that really resonates to this day.
Yeah, on October 12, 1945, President Harry S. Truman himself presented Desmond Doss with the Medal of Honor. We're talking about the nation's highest award for valor. And get this, he was the first conscientious objector to ever receive it. Think about that. The very same institution that tried to kick him out was now celebrating him as one of its greatest heroes.
But Doss, he never wanted the spotlight. His wounds in a bout of tuberculosis ended up costing him a lung and landed him in hospitals for over 5 years. He just lived a quiet, humble life, always saying his bravery came from God. It's pretty wild that his incredible story didn't really reach a global audience until that 2016 film, Hacksaw Ridge.
So here's the real kicker, the thing you have to remember. The very same man who had once tormented him, who called him a coward, they now owed him their lives. He completely transformed their idea of what a hero was. In the middle of all that carnage, this unarmed medic who refused to kill became their greatest symbol of hope. He proved that heroism isn't always about fighting. Sometimes it's about the absolute refusal to stop saving. So what does true courage actually look like? The story of Desmond Doss, it doesn't really give us one easy answer, does it? Instead, it just fundamentally challenges how we even think about the question. It leaves you wondering, what different forms can strength and bravery really take, especially when things are at their absolute worst?